Hello and welcome back to This or That with Kobe and Jatt, presented by Verizon. Ready for another episode?
Yeah, I'm ready.
There's a surprise in
You
this
were
episode.
just giving me heat for having my phone out. It's a Verizon phone, Kobe. It's fine.
Nice. Good job, sellout. Let's get to the slides. What do we got here? First one. Now that Azir has tried play-by-play, would you put me in, coach? Or, wait, put Jatt in then?
Ooh.
Is this saying Jatt play-by-play now?
Yeah, that's what it's saying. Put me in, coach, or I'm good. So it's like, I think what it means is we both have to answer, do we also want to play-by-play or do we not want to play-by-play?
I need some confirmation from producers.
I just gave it to you. I don't care. This is the rule now.
Because if the slide is about Azir, I would say put him in, coach.
No, put me in, coach, and it's my face. So it's like analysts. I'm right.
Okay.
I just got confirmation.
Yeah.
So what's your answer?
You in as play-by-play?
Or no, you in as play-by-play. We're talking as individuals.
I'll go in. I'm down.
Okay, put me in, coach.
I would say put me in.
I'm spoiling it. I want to do a skit next week, or like an actual audition.
Yeah.
We all need to do a team fight.
Yeah, and Captain Flowers is the judge.
Yeah, and then they get judged.
Yeah.
So, all of us.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Next slide.
We're doing it.
Bottom and support. So Arena is coming soon. What's the best duo for this mode? Mid jungle, bot support, bot top.
I think I know.
There's augments and everything in this game, so the duos are going to be nothing like
True.
League of Legends.
I have a hard time not seeing Tarek just running the mode. Right? I haven't even played it.
I was going to say, have you seen, I saw some clips of some of the augments, and they're game-changing.
Yeah?
Like switching positions with your teammates.
Give me one.
Laying down a Rumble ultimate that explodes wherever you go.
Give me one that beats Tarek.
I don't know. They're augments. The augments, I don't even know the names of any of them.
It's mid-jungle, Tarek. This one.
I haven't played it at all. I've still been saying bot top.
I haven't gotten on PvE yet, but I'm definitely going to play it when it gets live. I'm really excited for this next mode. Slide number 3 on This or That with Kobe and Jatt. More likely MVP, a dig player, Rich, he was Hot's Faker, or a fly player, Prince, who almost won MVP last split. I know what Raz would say, because he's a Rich hater.
It's Prince!
Prince has won 2 games, Raz.
Doesn't matter. I feel like definitely Rich for me as far as individual play,
They're 5-4.
and as far as how much his team is playing better with him on it too. So I feel like I'm fully in that Dignitas hype train right now.
I mean, this is kind of, I don't necessarily know the analogy, but it's like, between us, who's more likely to become president?
Ooh,
like, neither of these dudes are winning MVP this split, Kobe. It's going to be this because it's more likely, but not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen.
I'm going to accept that challenge. Challenge accepted, Jatt. Vote for Kobe. I'm going to start campaigning soon.
Worst meal to eat.
Free LP for everyone.
This saucy ribs or that whole lobster tails. Who's been complaining about the catering? That's what I want to know, because I feel like it's fine.
Look at this edit. Oh, my God. We look like demons.
I mean, honestly, to eat during a cast.
What is all this? What is all this lobster spray? Also,
the crunching of the lobster makes it worse to do during a cast. So it's way better to eat saucy ribs, because casters are like not really on camera.
Oh my God, these edits.
It's clearly this though, right?
Yeah.
My logic is sound.
It is. Me and Emily, we look weird.
We're going to the next one.
Also,
we solved it.
I'm looking
Demonic. Yeah, what are you feeding me or something?
I'm looking at it like really intensely too. Emily, you want
Kobe's
this
broken.
one?
I'm going to continue asking the questions. If in Mundo Dodgeball, who is the carry? The Mundo Dodgeball player or the Dodgeball player?
Yes, it's the person who's actually trying to keep focus and hit the in-game cleavers. The other ones are distractions. That's the pilot, that's the co-pilot.
The Mundo Dodgeball player
is the pilot, and this one's
but
the
what
co-pilot.
if your screen constantly get hit like Blabber? Does that not make the Dodgeball player?
How do you win the game, Jatt? You gotta hit the cleavers, kill the Mundo. Boom.
Yeah, it's correct. This is silly. The other guy's like a supportive player. Like, it's, who's more?
All right, let's go. Next
who's
one.
more important, the pitcher or the catcher? Like, obviously the guy throwing the damn pitch. Who do you trust more on a carry champ, Bolulu or VicLa?
I don't really trust. My trust with VicLa was broken a long time ago.
These are hard questions.
So I'm gonna go with Bolulu. I mean, Vel'Koz and Zoe are carry champions.
I mean, this is true, and I actually am upset. We'll see in this next game, because this is going to be coming up. I'm upset that Bolulu has not played more Vel'Koz and Zoe.
Same.
Like,
Let me see your upset face, Jatt. Show them how upset you are.
I think players get this feeling that they have to play what everyone else is playing. Just play what you're good at, man. It's worth it. Just win the game. He'll win the game if he plays those champions.
He looks ready to win the game.
Yeah, I trust him.
I'm going
on
with
those
Bolulu.
two. That's a wrap, though, for this or that. Send us your suggestions in the comments. I have to go cast, so I'm leaving. You
Hey,
finish.
me and Emily got to eat some ribs.
Yeah, apparently.
So let's get to it.
Come back to me, Jatt. Come back to the caster booth. I'm lonely. How dare you leave me alone on my birthday? But I'm actually not normally that big of a birthday person, so I don't know why I'm complaining. I got my wish. Santorin coming and joining us during the last game. About to get into this one. Man, I don't know why they're hating on eating such heavy food when doing talent work. I used to do that all the time. And if somebody, I'm just putting this out in the ether, if somebody one day wanted to come and like bring me a giant lobster or something like that and plop it in front of me, I would totally eat that while casting. And I bet I could do it pretty effectively. I used to eat an entire quesarito before doing competitive speaking. Do you know what a quesarito is, Jatt?
It is a quesadilla burrito.
Yes, on the
From
secret
Taco
menu.
Bell?
Well, that one.
It's on
that
the
would
red
actually
menu.
be.
I've totally
Oh
ordered
no,
one
on
before.
Chipotle.
Oh, okay.
It's on the secret menu, and they get kind of mad when you ask them to make it because they have to make a quesadilla and then also a burrito, and it's a whole thing. But all I'm saying is I'm very proud of my eating abilities, and I think I can out-eat anybody on this broadcast.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
It might be like a safety violation, but I feel like that's a bit we can try because I'm pretty confident I can eat a lot of food too. We'll see.
Put that to the test one day, but for now it's Immortals and FlyQuest being put to the test. They both have had rough runs in their own regards, but FlyQuest on the upswing in recent games.
They have. They've got the two biggest streaks in the LCS. I believe, I need to triple check this, but I believe Immortals is on a 6-game losing streak. FlyQuest started with a 6-game losing streak and has won the last 2. So everyone kind of unanimously predicting FlyQuest to win this one, but it has been a very rough go of it for them so far in the summer. Yeah, Immortals has lost 6 in a row. So both of them have experienced 6-game losing streaks. If FlyQuest can beat Immortals, they'll give Immortals the largest losing streak of any team in the LCS this summer.
Immortals had started strong with their wins against Dignitas and NRG, and like I think when you start a split, right, and everyone's making those really quick assumptions, and you're thinking, okay, Immortals coming in really hot, but they haven't been able to make anything happen since then, and a lot of that strength had come previously from that bot lane, the Aphelios play from Tactical, but even though he's continued playing Aphelios, it hasn't reaped the same results.
Yeah, I feel like they've been getting Aphelios in these situations where there's no way of them realistically defending Aphelios, and then Tactical is also playing really aggressively where he would need a different team composition for it to make sense. So the whole thing hasn't been clicking. Another thing I just talked to Kobe about in this or that, which was a couple minutes ago, was just Bolulu and his champion choices. Yes, he's been playing Azir and Annie, which are effective picks in the meta, but he's dropped his tried and true Vel'Koz and Zoe. So he hasn't necessarily looked as exciting as he did when he joined the LCS at the end of spring.
A single game on Vel'Koz thus far this split, and it did not result in a victory. No Zoe yet either, and I know some of these picks have been mentioned as potential counters to what we have seen in the meta, but Immortals still looking for somewhat of a different look than we have seen from recent games. Kenvi was leaning towards that Viego carry from the jungle position, now going towards the facilitative way of Sejuani.
Yeah, they've done a lot of first pick Sejuani. Kenvi has definitely had a very lackluster LCS year so far. His good games have been few and far between. The Kindred is banned against him every single game. After that, he generally goes on Sejuani, and he's just unable to have a large impact on the game. I really did think when this team switched out Revenge for Solo in the offseason, we'd be seeing a lot more carry choices for Kenvi, but that hasn't really manifested. What we've been getting are these like really beefy top sides where they are struggling to do the appropriate amount of damage in team fights. I like the Ivern though.
I know. Ivern coming out for Spica. He did play it recently against Dignitas, and they did not get the victory, but now off of 2 wins against Team Liquid and Energy, looking like a different team. And Spica did speak in his recent interview about one of the changes coming off of the 0-6. Okay, guys, it's getting a little dire now. What do we need to do? I am going to revert to a bit more of those jungle picks that allow me to work with my laners, give them more tools. And Ivern is somebody that offers a lot of tools.
Yeah, I got to chat with him yesterday after their win, and that was the message. He, I believe verbatim said, we just wanted to play things that are easier because they were just winning so much. He did say they were winning 90% of their scrims pre-LCS start. Now it's around 60 or 70. I don't necessarily buy 90 because he wasn't actually like, you know, Excel charting and counting up the wins, but I imagine they were winning 3 to 4 to 5 scrims every single block of 5 scrims, and that gives you a lot of almost overconfidence for when you go to the LCS stage and start to struggle. But I still actually do believe this FlyQuest team is a lot better than their record, and if they simplify things, which they're absolutely doing here, this is one of the simplest team comps they could play, I think they're going to have a good chance.
And simple is the way to go when you're trying to build team synergy. Even if it's not quite at that 90% mark, this is still a story that's kind of corroborated by other teammates, right? Vulcan talking in his interviews, like one he did with Degon, about we haven't been able to have this chemistry on stage, but I don't see that issue in scrims, and we're trying to figure out how to bring that back onto the stage. And it's kind of reminiscent of even thinking back in Spring Split when Prince would be asked, who do you want to see get player of the week? And he would say, I want VicLa to get it because I want him to build that confidence and be able to be that player from the mid lane that I know he can be. And it seems like that's something that's almost kind of trickled around the squad, and now they're trying to even it out and get over that hurdle by going towards simplicity.
Yeah, and Vulcan as well. This is not the start he imagined when he joined FlyQuest, especially with all the trash that he talked in spring about their previous support, Ayla, but they are on the win streak train at the moment. He's on Alistar. This is historically one of his best champions. I think it is a decent matchup into Rell, even if I think Rell is a more powerful champion. Watch for Vulcan to find some big flank engages in the middle late game. That's usually what he is best at on this pick.
Two very proactive supports coming in with Vulcan on that comfort pick of Alistar, but the Rell that has risen in prominence for very good reason, and Treatz in that driver's seat. But Jatt, thoughts on how this draft ended up shaking up between the two teams?
I think Immortals got a very standard draft where they're not necessarily putting together any massive synergies. They picked Sejuani, but they only have one melee solo laner. They picked Rell and Xayah, but they're not comboing them with like the Samira Rell combo or the Xayah Rakan combo because Rakan was previously banned. So it's just fine. Whereas I think FlyQuest is just, it's very passive. I think a good result for FlyQuest here is be fairly even at gold in 15 minutes. And then after that, they're going to feel like they're in a very good position for the game.
FlyQuest, they are very much yearning to end this week with a 3-0 to slice in half to match that, 6 losses.
Yeah.
Cut that down a bit. 6-3 or 3-6 doesn't look nearly as gnarly as the 0-6.
Yeah, 3-6 would be totally fine, actually, after the first round robin. It would make it feel like it's very unlikely that they don't make playoffs, knowing how forgiving the LCS schedule actually is. Top 8 make playoffs. Obviously, you want to be top 6. That grants you the double elimination when we do get to that part of the season. 7 and 8 will, of course, start in the loser's bracket. But FlyQuest isn't even thinking about that at the moment. They're just kind of thinking about the next game and what's in front of them, and that's the best way that they're going to be able to get something. There's Treatz!
And there's a lot of Immortals in front of them right now. Spica making sure to get out of that one. Got to get out of dodge when Immortals is going for that invade.
That feels bad. That's such a classic invade. Either the Dragon Wall or the Baron Pit when you have a dash support like that.
I mean, that's one thing that Ivern can invite is the invades, not just in those early moments, but through just the laning phase in general. We'll have to see if Immortals decide to pick up on that at all. Sejuani not necessarily being one of the ones you think for that unless you have somebody to collapse with you, which is what they just executed.
Yeah, and also FlyQuest has a chance to go 3-0, which would make them the only 3-0 team in the LCS this week.
Oh.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, basically the broadcast team votes on player of the week every week. And I've been I've been trying to figure it out. When everyone is 2-1, it gets really, really difficult. When there's one 3-0 team and everyone else is 2-1, it's really hard to not pick someone on the 3-0 team. So it definitely feels like if FlyQuest can win this game, even though their first 2 wins were very long games that didn't necessarily have impressive score lines, Prince did manage to carry a lot of those games in the late game. Not carry, just perform well in late game team fights. But if he has a really strong game here, there's actually a good chance he'd pick up his 3rd Player of the Week statue this year.
That's true. That's kind of the first line of whittling things down is what are the team records for the week, who has a 3-0s. I feel like, I can't recall specific examples, but there have been a couple of times where somebody on a 2-1 did get it when there is a 3-0, but it always comes down to strength of schedule. Was there some anomaly that had occurred? It takes a lot to be able to overcome what the position that Prince is in right now.
Yeah, Stixay had a really good week, 15-4-12. They've had some good games. Berserker, weirdly enough, amazing stats, but he had that one really bad bot lane against Team Liquid where they kind of lost the game, but 15-2-15. I'm just kind of reading off stats, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting for Player of the Week. People get really up in arms about it if we get it wrong, so I want to get it right.
There's a lot of perspective that comes into that, right? But Solo, Impact and Solo still remaining alive here on this top side, but definitely duking it out. Kenvi finds Spica, throws down the brush and stunned up within it, so Kenvi cues away. Just lots of poke across the board. VicLa and Bolulu both having to use some of their sustain here along mid.
Yeah, and look at that. Even with Spica losing Flash level 1, a really good Ivern path compared to what Kenvi's been able to accomplish. Kenvi still hasn't cleared the bot side of his jungle whatsoever. Spica's level 4. Just battling over this scuttle, but Solo also managed to get level 4. I guess he gets it, but Spica's really comfortable with the CS lead.
23 CS to 12 on the opposite side. Bolulu sees Spica coming in for some of the assistance across mid just to alleviate that pressure, but Kenvi rotating through the tri-brush.
Well,
all right, yeah, okay.
What?
Jumps on to Impact, but Solo's on the exits.
I hate that. Like, what are they doing? Solo's recalling. If you're good, you're literally doing nothing with that gank other than showing that you're topside, and this allows Spica to just pop in and steal this. Like, if Kenvi doesn't go for this gank, Spica doesn't go for that red steal. So I just think a really silly play there by Immortals.
Right, it doesn't feel good when you go towards a lane and you aren't able to make the play happen, but it feels better to be able to exit without them ever knowing you were there, as opposed to saying, hey guys, I was here, I was gonna make something happen, it didn't, so now I'm gone.
Yeah, I mean, they did see him at Scuttle, but he could have still recalled immediately after Scuttle and ran out bottom. I think maybe the timing is off, maybe it's fine, but that's just the way I see it in the moment.
But nonetheless, nothing to come of it. Bolulu a bit low on mana here across mid, starting to get to that reset territory. A few seconds until this first dragon spawns, so the support starting to move up to get that warding in position.
Yeah, and Impact continuing to really trade heavily on that top line. So speaking about the strength of schedule for FlyQuest, they've actually not had the easiest schedule this week. They beat Team Liquid in that first game when they were 0-6. Very few people expected them to break that losing streak then. And they beat Energy, who has had a rough go of it, but if you think back to the CLG roster of last split, like, they're really underperforming as well, and I think have a chance of turning it around. So a middle of the pack schedule so far from FlyQuest. This definitely on paper, their easiest match for the week. This dragon fight could be big.
And Vulcan gets charmed, knocked up. VicLa comes over the wall to try and get the damage down. First blood drawn by Prince. So Immortals in some trouble here for Kenvi. Now that they don't have their mid laner and he's low enough, you don't got the jungler healthy, you can't step up to the Drake. So Spica is able to finish it off to get the first one for FlyQuest as they also continue with over 1,000 gold lead in their pockets.
Yeah. Good job to FlyQuest. Congratulations. They have the call Aphelios, who's able to pick up the first kill, and they can easily secure that dragon. I need to see that again. That looked way too easy, actually, because they're just here, and then Vulcan walks into the bush against the level 6 flash alt Ahri and presses Q. This is weird. So 2 plays by Immortals have just looked really, like, drowsy, I want to say. Like, because the gank in the top lane and then that, but maybe they pull something off here against VicLa.
They're trying to VicLa, but he's so close to his turret and flashes as soon as Bolulu goes for the entry. Vulcan in the vicinity now. So they did grab the flash from him, so a summoner to potentially revisit later on, but I agree with you, Jatt. It feels like there's moments where they're not quite in sync. Solo has to be a little tepid right now as spica doesn't quite hit him with the root, but Solo's already marked down low, impact, ready to swing away over the wall. Kazande is coming on into it. Solo still keeping himself in it. Has Kenvi here, but Kenvi is knocked up and blasted down. Impact with the kill credit.
Imagine being Kenvi and your top laner just yeets Daisy over the wall to kill you. That is unfortunate. FlyQuest really dominated this game. I feel like if this was game 1 of the split, this would look like a regular, everyday FlyQuest victory where they have good team fighting, better scaling, and a strong start to the game. We're going to watch this one more time. spica basically just waiting for Solo to go for another trade. He does miss the Q, but then he at least forces Solo's flash in order to get the escape over the wall, and a nice flash followed by impact over the wall. Luckily, Daisy has charged up the attack. Bops Kenvi up in the air at the end there, and allows Impact to pick up the kill.
So FlyQuest looking pretty, pretty clean. And kind of going off of your point with the strength of schedule and what FlyQuest has faced thus far, I think the earliest losses that they had were the most questionable because of the high expectations on this team. They faced 100 Thieves and TSM to start it off, but then they faced Golden Guardians, Cloud9, and Evil Geniuses in that middle chunk, which is definitely going to make it more difficult for you to shore up some of the issues you have had. Now, if they continue to streak, can pick up 3 wins this week, they're going into a week where they can follow up on that. I mean, they've got 100 Thieves as their next matchup. Yes, they face Golden Guardians next Thursday, but it's Dignitas after that. I think opponents with which can still put up a fight, but ones that they can test their limits and continue to develop these skills.
Yeah, and I also think the whole conversation around FlyQuest is, it's very noisy and very distracting, but also a little bit wrong in the fact that 6 games is a bad start, but it's also 2 weeks. It's such a short actual time frame. It is 6 best of 1s, and variance is really massive, but there's this expectation of watching LCS year over year where you're usually only playing 2 games per week, that 0-6 just feels longer than it actually is. So I do think that FlyQuest can get caught up in that. Sometimes the negative talk can create negative performance, but now we got to talk about this Rift Herald because Vulcan is just really using these rushes well to prevent Immortals' approach.
Providing that body block outside of this brush so that FlyQuest can continue on to the Rift Herald. And even with some of the downtown hits from Immortals, they managed to burn down Vulcan, who's now got his sights onto Solo. A double knock-up, and in the center of it all, Solo has fallen. Kenvi, though, reaping back the kill onto the enemy support. Bolulu goes over the wall to escape it, but FlyQuest coming out of this one in search of Kenvi deep into the enemy jungle, standing upon the wards of the enemy as well, and eventually has fallen, slaughtered multiple members of Immortals, taken down, the Rift Herald secured by FlyQuest.
Yeah, I think slaughter is the right word for it. These fights don't even look close. So they're waiting a while for Solo to get here. As soon as it does, it's a 4v4, but there's no Sejuani ultimate. They kidnap the tankiest member who still gets all of his spells off, and then they are on the wrong side of the map for the actual fight. So Impact can just sit there with Dominus, beating the crap out of Immortals, and I just felt like Immortals had no actual chance of winning that fight. I think Solo knows it too. He's like, damn it, I ulted the wrong guy. Like, he ulted the wrong guy in the wrong direction, and Immortals falls even further behind in this game.
You could see it in his reaction in that moment, and further behind is Riot Games, 3.6k gold lead for FlyQuest. They still have that Rift Herald in their pocket, and with this Drake now spawned, it's an opportunity to try to set up for it, first with the warding, but also being able to drop Shelby where needed.
Yeah, Solo doing his best to try and get a plate back, but right now, I think with the TP advantage that FlyQuest has, they're just going to set up around this bottom, and like they really feel back online this game. Like, look at this ward setup already. 4 wards in the bot side jungle, makes it pretty much impossible for anyone to go in the river. And because it's completely blind, they're going to go for a play bottom. I think this is actually a little over-aggressive. They could just take Dragon, but Kenvi's waiting for a 3v3.
3v3. Bolulu just teleported back towards mid lane, and VicLa is making his way down if needed, but knows that his opposing mid laner has already been brought back. So FlyQuest creating the space. Daisy down also for that assistance to be able to start up this dragon, and that warding is just so sweet.
Yeah, easy.
Congratulations to Vulcan on 3,000 assists off of this as well. 9th player of LCS of all time. I think when, pause on that thought as Solo's getting the brunt of the force of impact once more. Whew, another kill here for FlyQuest. 2 dragons to them. But as you were making the point earlier about how some of that narrative feels slightly wrong, oh my gosh.
They're just destroying them.
Yeah,
we can keep going.
They're just destroying it. They're putting in that work.
This game is over. It feels like unless disaster happens, FlyQuest wins.
Yeah. Well, and FlyQuest, I think a lot of the heat that they've gotten is in response to the narrative around the team when looking at the roster, right? You see all these stars, you see this heavy streak at the start of spring. I don't think anyone wants to see Vulcan not on a successful team. He's not just such a great support, but a great trash talker. You don't want him losing and not being able to get into the conversation. And these victories can be enough to change that sentiment on a dime.
Absolutely. I mean, Prince was 2nd place in MVP voting in the spring split. This was, for most of spring, the best team in the league. So it does feel wrong to have them in 9th. This game, more than anything else, feels like spring split FlyQuest. You almost want to ask, like, are they back? The only disappointing thing is from like a, as they're going to get top turret here with the Rift Herald. From a raw entertainment perspective, like in the moment, it is way more fun when someone is hilariously worse than they're supposed to be. Right? Like, it is more fun for a lot of people to watch them lose than to have them like slowly demolish Immortals. Like, this is an absolute demolition. They're 5K up at 14 minutes. But in like a, nothing has felt risky this whole game. They're just winning every lane. They're setting up every fight properly. This is the FlyQuest that we expected. This is the FlyQuest we saw for Summer Spring. But honestly, we haven't even seen this FlyQuest that often where they're dominating early game. A lot of the times they were just like kind of narrowly winning the early games, but Prince would have 2 or 3 kills and then he'd end the game with like 12, even though they were ahead most of the game. This is just a stomp.
I think it brings to light also the fact that, one, when FlyQuest can be put in this advantageous situation early, you can see just how good they are. And pinpointing some of the points you're referring to where, they would get even slight leads, but wouldn't be able to make much of it. Drawing back to that interview that Vulcan did with Degon, where he said one of the biggest pain points for them was how they're unable to pivot in dire situations, that they need someone to step up. So it seems like their problem is when they are behind, when things don't go their way. So even with this game going very much in their favor, I'm sure that's something they will continue to work on, being able to improve themselves when the pressure is on from their opponent. But Immortals haven't quite put that to the test at any point during this game.
Yeah, I think FlyQuest will likely be better than 3 and 6 in the 2nd round robin. Because they appear to be through this this slump. I know it's FlyQuest that's tearing Immortals into, and I'm just narrating.
That's the thing. FlyQuest are doing the beating.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it here. But I know that Immortals are getting a little demoralized with FlyQuest, the way they continue to
probably
entrench upon them. Treatz is waiting to make the play, gets rooted up. Bolulu teleporting in. Yeah. You got a 6th player on the team when you got Daisy just walking around.
Yeah, new Daisy is really strong. They've really beefed her up.
Yup. Especially some of the versions that you see in solo queue being particularly fun. But
so that's the weird thing about this game is like I'm not gonna say FlyQuest is back. What I will say is FlyQuest is definitely not going to go 2 and 16 or 3 and 15. I think they're definitely going to be better than they were in the 1st round robin. Whether or not they can reach the level that they did in the 1st round robin in spring is yet to be seen. And I think part of this is also just due to Immortals' decline. Like, Immortals won the first 2, and they're gonna, if they lose this, lose their 7th game in a row. So FlyQuest is doing what they need to do, and Immortals really do need to find something.
And that's exactly what they're trying to do in this moment. They want to find the Rift Herald. Treatz goes for the play onto VicLa, but he just ease on out of there. Bolulu still going for the lockdown, but Impact is ready to collapse. One Emperor's Divide used with a dash in from Vulcan. VicLa gets the kill onto Bolulu. Tactical dishing out some damage, but with the front line eliminated for him, he can't get back into the fight. Treatz completely separated, even in Pharaoh Man C, just a done horse made into glue. And suddenly, Immortals nowhere to be seen aside from Tactical with feathers a-flying.
Yeah, Immortals trying to pull this Rift Herald, but there's always this difficult situation. Like, if you're going to start an objective, you need to be willing to peel off and fight, which they try and do, but VicLa just dodges the engage, and that just makes it a free-for-all for the rest of FlyQuest to go in on them. Again, you can see Solo rips Vulcan over the wall. It does allow him to finish off VicLa, but the fight had already been lost.
Immortals, I mean, their positioning right there at the start, the way that you just noted, they didn't seem prepared to be able to turn effectively. It kind of felt a little bit like that desperation wanting to grab an objective away from FlyQuest, see if they can find a way to break that control that their opponents have had this entire game, but they couldn't quite do it.
And this has really gotten out of hand. Is this worse than the Cloud9 win over EG? I want a stat request. Like, what was the 18 or 20-minute gold of that Cloud9 game? Because this is 8.4K, 9K now at 18 minutes.
Here's the test, though. I think it was like 1848 when Cloud9 were
like
up and pushing
base
on the next. Yeah, where if they had just a single minion, they could have been able to end. So does FlyQuest make any breaking in towards the base at this point? They're going to try to do so. Knockback of Treatz, teleport coming on in for the assist for FlyQuest. Solo is already marked down low, and Impact is going for the kill. When you have most of your engage and disengage already on the retreat, the rest of the team cannot step up to the plate, and FlyQuest continue to ooze with everything they got.
Prince wasn't even there. Impact was just unkillable because everyone on Immortals is just so incredibly starved for gold. I am curious how quickly FlyQuest will be able to close this one up, celebrate their 3-0 week, move on to week 4. It is also crazy that we are halfway through the regular season of the Summer Split. The compression due to the player walkout and the delay of the beginning of this split has really changed things. Everything has ended up being so rapid because not only are we halfway through the split, but we've only played on like a patch and a half. So you're not even seeing a huge amount of adaptation from the champion picks for half of a split.
And when you have more games happening within the context of a single patch, it puts much more emphasis on how teams have adapted to that particular patch. And I think that's what some of the players, Huhi on Golden Guardians, for instance, talking about. There's a balance between trying to adapt to the current meta while also keeping our fundamentals in check. And if you adapt quickly, great. If not, that's 3 games a week going the other way. And now things still going the way of FlyQuest, man. Still going their way for sure. When multiple members of Immortals are just watching their brethren fall, that's when you know it's tough.
The Cloud9 gold lead at 20 minutes was 9,894 gold. The FlyQuest gold lead was 11,200. This is the most sided game of the day, a bookend on the last game of the first round robin of Summer Split. FlyQuest absolutely steamrolling Immortals.
Not a single neutral objective nor turret grabbed by Immortals. They have nowhere to move on this map. And FlyQuest just get to start up this Baron. They take their kills, they take everything they've got. They're making that face at him with that 11K, now almost 13,000 gold, and should be able to make work of this Red Bull Baron buff.
Yeah, they will have about 2 minutes, about like a minute 30 if they wanted to end faster than Cloud9 did against DG. But Cloud9 also did that against the first place team. Currently, FlyQuest is looking to secure Immortals as the last place team, replacing the spot previously held by FlyQuest that they've been holding for the last couple weeks. So that will definitely feel good. Interesting as we look towards next week. Cloud9 7-2, Evil Geniuses 7-2, Golden Guardians 6-3. And I think the big surprise teams, other than FlyQuest being down to 3-6, is Dig and TL being at 5 and 4. So overall, it did end up equalizing a little bit once we got to the 9th game, but it felt really wild at the start of this week, the state that we were in.
And even though there are 8 teams that go into playoffs, it becomes much more dicey when you have a team like FlyQuest eating up all those losses early on, and then they start to get those wins. Because sometimes you have a split where, okay, there's one team that's clearly in the bottom. They're never going to be able to make that gap, but it's so tight when FlyQuest was at the bottom and they're looking like this, and you expect them to get more wins as they break right now at 22 minutes into this inhibitor and continue to reap their reward with this Baron buff. But yeah, that's when you start thinking, okay, we're at the bottom, and what work do we need to do to get into that top 8?
Yeah, Immortals will have a lot of thinking to do. I think they need a new approach to their draft for sure, but there's a lot in game as well. FlyQuest with the redemption just easily absorbing this, and they might be able to break all 3 inhibitors with the remainder of this Baron buff.
They're trying to do so, that's for sure, and even moments before that, members of Immortals wanting to secure some kind of pick onto FlyQuest. You saw Treatz use that Magnet Storm previously, but FlyQuest can continue moving all the way across. Impact taking the brunt of the damage from Immortals. The Feather Storm from Tactical, slinging it back in for the kill, but FlyQuest have collapsed upon the rest. Charm and more onto VicLa, who goes into stasis, knocked up upon re-entry into this fight. 2 lives lost for FlyQuest, but 4 lost for Immortals, and they're walking it into the base.
Hey, I can respect it. Immortals got some.
Yeah.
That was the goal. They're trying desperately to keep those minion waves dead, but with Prince alive and 28 seconds on this Baron buff, I think this will do it.
I think you're right, Jatt. I think you're right. FlyQuest make losses a thing of the past, ending week 3 of summer with a sweet, sweet 3-0 and sending Immortals to the bottom of the standings.
Some relief for FlyQuest after week 3. After the 0-6 start, Prince was visibly distressed on stage after beating Team Liquid. The relief then was bigger. Now, it definitely feels like they're a lot calmer, a lot more on track with the calm dominance of this game. Overall, Prince deathless this entire week as FlyQuest ends week 3 as the only 3-0 team.
That is the version of FlyQuest that many abroad expected. The version of Prince that garnered so much attention in spring. MVP conversations galore in the early weeks, Jatt, in the earliest of weeks. But silence around him as a player at the start of summer until now.
Yeah, I would like to exhale if you're someone internal for FlyQuest, coach, player, just knowing how loud Twitter, other players get when you struggle at the start of a split, to at least bounce back a little bit. They're not out of the woods. The 3-6 moves them into a 3-way tie for 7th with Energy and TSM. Taking one look at this final Hail Mary by Immortals. They just see Impact, they figure they'll go for him, but remember, he's got an Empowered Q and a Gore Drinker that heals him for about 600 total, but they blow everything on him, and then when VicLa goes for the big play, they're like, all right, let's get him too, maybe we got a chance. But obviously, Prince is completely untouched this entire time, so I am appreciative that Immortals went for it, got a couple moral kills, but ultimately this game was going to end with a FlyQuest victory either way.
And there's not much that Immortals can do in those moments. So you have to commend them for trying and trying to grab someone down with them. But FlyQuest maintaining complete control. And as you were saying, Prince had such a clear emotional reaction when they started to get the wins. And the pressure builds up so much.
It does.
I mean, think about when you gassy and
it's really good.
building up and you just need a release, a little fart joke.
Honestly, I'm going to vote for Prince for Player of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's fair. I think he's deathless. They went 3-0. Their competition wasn't the hardest, but only 3-0 team, and I think the pressure they're under, that's my vote. I'm not the official arbiter of this, but we'll see.
Spoilers, Jatt. Spoilers.
Who are you voting for? You don't know yet?
I'm probably going to go for Prince too. But
Okay.
But for now, we're joining Raz and Impact for our Verizon post-game interview.
Welcome and congratulations, Impact, on a 3-0 week. Not just this game, but the whole week, you guys made a big turnaround. What would you say is your contribution and also just the changes that the team made to be able to come out and make a strong week happen?
Let me think. I don't know what changed because I mean, okay, last week I can feel that like we are different than screen game.
Yeah.
How we played it, like we are scared something and we don't connect each other that much and we're not talking good we need talking about information, but sometimes skip that, so looks really bad to play because some people forget that how to play because doesn't hear that.
Yeah.
So we tried to fix that. Then we showed that, yeah, I think this week.
That makes sense. I remember in my Vulcan interview, he said how, at least for himself and Spica, that the feedback was like they were talking too quickly, especially him. What about yourself? Did you change any way, not even just in game, but like out of game? Like, because you're saying confidence. Any way that you tried to like instill confidence in team about like, oh no, if you see a fight, just go for it?
I'm trying to not getting loser mindset. Like, if you think yourself is scared, or because you have an angle to go in, and if you scare this maybe like 1 second, 2 seconds, you cannot make play. So I'm trying thinking, like, just do my job best. I'm just trust myself. Yeah, that's my job, top lane.
That makes sense. And now you said top lane. I've been seeing some changes top lane. There's been a lot. You brought out Poppy. We've been seeing more tanks there, or even the Renekton pick you've always kind of gone for. And also level 1, we've been seeing more teams basically head on top lane, not for a pick, but to place a ward, just for something different. What are your thoughts on the top lane meta right now? Do you feel like there's anything different that's being done now that's been done in the past?
I think it's similar, but just different Renekton came to meta because got buffed too much.
Yeah.
I mean, now meta just, if put ward top side means like you play spicy matchup, so you need ward, of course. Like against Queen or I'm play Jax against Renekton. Sometimes you need ward. And I don't know, just to me it's similar. Like anyway, my jungle not coming top side, you know. Sometimes come.
You can change that.
Actually this meta one different, like bottom meta now, like doesn't need resource that much because static. So you can using jungler more top side. That's changed, I think. This
Okay. It's a message for Spica. You know, a message for people out there.
Actually, he can hear that.
Okay. I guess, and my last question is more so just about the state of the league, right? This seems to be like C9's lost a game. Of course, today was a big win for them. But past that, there's Team Liquid. Dignitas is doing quite well. Golden Guardians. There seems to be a lot of teams taking games off of each other. Wanted to ask more about you, because even, I forget which player I asked, but even asking them, like, oh, like FlyQuest isn't doing well. Like, how would you think you're doing as well? I was like, no, we're going to take them seriously because obviously you guys do really well in scrims and you guys are doing well right now. Where would you place yourselves right now in the league? Because you guys felt like you could have gone to the finals. Obviously right now, it's kind of weird, the difference between scrims and on stage. What's your take on your guys' gameplay?
I mean, our scrim win percent like 90%. I think people already know, but that doesn't matter, I think.
Yeah.
Scrim can be picked. I think it's up to our stage, right? How we play the stage, like first week, second week is really bad. So I cannot say that we are a strong team now, but I trust my teammate. We're gonna go into final. So I don't know. Let's see. You know.
I like that. Any message for the fans out there?
I know you guys said that when you guys see that 0-6, that time kind of depression to me too. But I trust my teammate, and I hope we're gonna doing better. We're gonna keep doing that play better. So trust us.
Trust us. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Impact. That's a strong message. Again, congratulations on the win. And we'll send this one back to the analyst lounge. Head over there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Raz, of all people, should know what the analyst lounge is called. Thank you, Raz. Great to hear from Impact. Sorry.
I was going to say you almost got it right. It's LCS
Let's pull up the Samsung SSD Fast 5 for this week. I think the big thing stand out to me, we already talked about FlyQuest's resurgence, but I do want to point out fastest kill Prince in the bot lane at 535, which I was not expecting. Also, speaking of another team that's looked significantly better, and we talked to the 100 Thieves guys about this on the couch, is Quid actually getting adjusted to the team. He's looked so much better this week.
Yeah, they talked about him having the fastest or the highest CS at 14. So, of course, you're going to pick up your mythic item pretty quickly when you're CSing that well. So, good bounce back by Quid. Fastest kill in the bot lane threw me for a second because I'm like, I've been watching bot lanes get absolutely gapped. This can't be right. But it's the junglers keep stealing them. So, Pioshik on Wukong, the Kindred game for Blabber, like, they were the ones actually getting the kill. So, even though it was like the bot laners setting it up with good trades, it did take them a little bit longer to get involved.
Yeah, so that's a message to the junglers out there. Let your bot laners get those kills. A reminder that Samsung is partnered with Sleeper and Fantasy LCS, and you can earn bonus points each week for drafting the fastest performers. Congrats to those who earned bonus points this week. Plus, use code SSD990LCS through August 20th to get 10% off of a 990 Pro 1 and 2 terabyte SSDs. So yeah, I mean, I think the big thing to point out for this week is obviously FlyQuest Resurgence, right? Like, we ended the day with that. This was a deceptively important game for both teams, considering they're both trying to kind of claw their way into our 18 playoff. And FlyQuest ended the week 3-0.
Yeah, I think we ran the statistics at the start of the week. I'm curious to see the update on those now that they have gone 3-0 and put a team below them in the standings. They are one step closer to making playoffs. I think 100 Thieves as well. Their first positive win rate weekend at 4-5 now.
Yep.
I think, you know, Team Liquid coming back down to earth a little bit. They're at 5-4. Dignitas at 5-4 makes the middle of the pack very interesting to me.
Yeah, and then at the top, obviously, we had the absolute shellacking that was C9 versus EG. Let's take a look at today's player of the games.
Poggers.
Yeah, obviously, Blabber for the Kindred. You absolutely cannot let him have that. River, Santorin, Double Lift, and Impact.
Very good showing out of Rivers Viego. That one was pretty impressive. Santorin, the past two games have been very good.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got Pog for that Poppy game yesterday, but that one was also very good. I've been impressed with him, given that he was one of the members people were really wanting to step up. Once we saw Rich playing a little bit better, Tomo's been good, Jensen and him are all vibing, and they're actually in potential to be one of the top half league teams.
Yeah, now I'm curious to see who is on top of the leaderboard. I bet there's like a ton of people tied. Yeah, I was gonna say 10 players tied at 2 players of the game. But at the top, leading the pack, Blabber, and then JoJo, the 2 top teams in the league. And obviously, C9, I think, really came out, wanted to win, and absolutely destroyed EG today.
Yeah, the fact that they took down their toughest competition in such a definitive way was very impressive. Also, the fact that people were gearing up. I was on the JoJo MVP train, and then Blabber's like, hold on. Let's remember who is a multi-time MVP winner here. So very, very good game out of him. I saw a lot of people rallying behind him in the Reddit thread.
Yeah, and here we see all of the players tied at 2. I think Double Lift has actually been playing really, really well, even in 100 Thieves losses that they had previously. And to the point of Dignitas, their Pogs are actually spread pretty evenly. You have Tomo and Rich both picking up 2 as well. A team that has unexpectedly been doing really well. And your MasterCard Player of the Week is Prince. Did Jatt rig the vote? We'll never know. His KDA for this week is 10-0-12, which is really impressive. 2/3 of his team's kills he has participated in, and his damage is at 30%. I think, again, the big thing for me for FlyQuest just generally is, like, we knew how well this team could perform, and I was wondering, once they got that first loss off their back, how they were going to, you know, whether that was just going to shed everything and they'd be able to play a lot more loosely. I think they have. And Prince has performed really well in all their wins.
The first 2 games were very scrappy. The fact that he didn't die this week, I did not track that, but that's really cool to see that in these very back and forth games, he hadn't died, and then this last one was a stomp. And a lot of it was actually impacted in the leagues going, but he has been very reliable for them in those kind of dicey games. The fact that he didn't drop and won a lot of team fights for them. No surprise to see him there. I will say the 3-0, just auto pick someone from 3-0. Stixay should have been 3-0. He should have won that Tristana game, but his team inted him, all right? And then his 2 Aphelios games were incredible. I'm just saying, wake up, sheeple.
Guess who voted for Stixay for Player of the Week? Next week's schedule, let's see what's on the docket. The GG C9 matchup stands out to me just because I feel like, obviously, Golden Guardians haven't looked the most formidable even in some of their wins. I think they themselves would say that they are very shaky, but I have been waiting to see if they can kind of find anything to try to take down C9, because C9 has seemed like this unstoppable force to them, both domestically and when they face each other at MSI. So I'm very curious about that matchup.
I have my eyes on 100 Thieves, actually. It's a tough but winnable schedule because, you have a 3-0 FlyQuest who is not as bad as their 3-6 record, I think. Team Liquid is top half of the league, and EG is obviously up there. So it's a hard week for 100 Thieves, but they've been gaining momentum, and they're a team that people are very reactionary on. After their first win, everyone's like, they're so good. Then they started struggling a little bit more. I said they sucked. Now they're good again, so there's just been back and forth with them.
Yep, and C9, because of their win over Evil Genius's LG today, take the top of the standings. Well, technically, they're tied, but they do currently own the head-to-head. Golden Guardians in sole possession of 3rd place at 6-3. Dignitas and Team Liquid Honda tied for 4th at 5-4. 100 Thieves at 4-5 in 6th place. FlyQuest, NRG, and TSM all at 3-6. And then Immortals Progressive taking the 10th place spot. And that is it from us. We will be back next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. I'm not spelling out Wednesday. Raz is throwing stuff at us. That's it. How did I miss that? I'm not getting picked.
C9 looking for the dive. Give her the bottom lane. They find a lot of burst into Unforgiven to get him first. Halo's now down below 100. C9 juggling the aggro beautifully again. Armeo also pops. Blabber gets traded for it, but it's a 3-for-1 here in the bottom lane. Cloud9 has already broken into the base of EG on the bottom side. Jojo nearly killed, gets away, but just barely. Fudge keeping it going, goes all out, finds one, finds a knock-up on the 2. It's Cassante, and he ain't taking any sort of answer other than hell yeah. C9 going straight for the base. They want to make this fight happen. They go all out. A little bit more damage is going to finish off the enemy jungler, but now Harry's going to be picked up instead. Stixay grabbing the kill, and River stays alive. Now they're going to turn it right back onto Bioshik. Team Liquid is washed away.
They could get a pick, maybe.
They're looking for it now, but the Golden Guardians have already found the back line. Yon tries to flash away to stay alive. Meanwhile, Bioshik and Harry looking for the kill onto Stixay, who kites him out of the tier 2 turret. Shut down over to Licorice. Stixay outplays in the 1v2. Summit now isolated. River is dominating. Cassante is gone, and Bioshik's about to be mopped up next. Oh, Ignar wanted to make a play, but instead the engage coming in from Dignitas. Palafox is already found. Ignar's gone too. Dig found their moment, but can they finish the fight? Tomo is free firing, and he fangs contracts too. Dokla cannot get away. FBI cannot get away. There's no hope left for Energy. And Dignitas get a clean ace.
Uh-oh, Hanser marked low once again. 100 Thieves collapsing upon him. A route is granted onto Boogie, meaning no jungler in the vicinity for TSM, and 100 Thieves are taking him down one by one. Closer separate onto Ruby, has the teleport in from 100 Thieves to be able to continue onto this approach. Ain't no Tibber's gonna help you right now. A bear hug cannot keep 100 Thieves at bay. Impact taking the brunt of the damage from Immortals. The Featherstorm from Tactical, slinging it back in for the kill. But FlyQuest has collapsed upon the rest. Charm and more onto VicLa, who goes into stasis, knocked up upon re-entry into this fight. 2 lives lost for FlyQuest, but 4 lost for Immortals, and they're walking it into the base.
Yesterday with the TriCast, today you get your own TriCast.
Yeah! This is my special birthday present. I've never gotten to cast with Santorin. Can I get a birthday picture of a TriCast?
Of course.
Yeah, let's do it.